And we're back out here to the vehicle. So as we can see from the high side horn, where you may not be able to see with all of this changing light, there. You see how the angle of the bracket, it has its own little hole that tab fits into. And we have our setup where the horns, that part will face down to the street. You see there's the yellow ground strap, hopefully. And you can see this is a green wire, all kinds of junk on it. That's wired into the horn circuit. So that's the high side. And of course I had to take the grill out. It's not a big deal to get to where those things were mounted. There's the other horn. The other horn's going to go right there. And it will go down along here. And so I'll check the angle of the horn opening and tighten it up. And then we'll test her out after we hook it up. Now, some of you guys have horns on these Dodges back over here. And believe it or not, Mopar, or Chrysler Corporation, at least for 1986, I don't know about 85 and 87, but they have 318s that come from, well, they have the Federal motor and then they have the California motor. They do not have ballast resistors. And that's a little conundrum. When people go looking for a ballast resistor, believe it or not, they're there in the wiring because they would use a lot of generic wiring systems. I mean, why make all the different wiring systems if you're going to, you can plug one and use all the different models to it. The 360s have a ballast resistor for this year. The 225 slant 6s have ballast resistors, but this one does not. So the reason I believe, now you guys who have 360s and slant 6s may correct me, but the computer for this thing is up here under that firewall, up underneath the fender. So there's no room for horns. No room in the end for the horns. So these 318s, I think, are the only ones that have them down alongside the radiator. So that's another reason why I needed to save these. And keep in mind, some of you may not have time to learn welding. You may not have the money to invest in even the most basic welding equipment. And a lot of times, brazing and soldering, which is basically what it is soldering, two parts together that aren't really structurally stressed as you might find in a frame. The soldering does just as well, and it's a lot easier. It's kind of fun too. It doesn't take long, and the equipment is not expensive. As I showed you before, the materials from Eastwood, and I'm not plugging Eastwood, I'm just saying that they have this stuff. You can buy the leaded solder or the non-leaded solder. And back in the good old days, they used to attach body panels with, guess what? Solder. Lead solder, most of them. You had to be very careful about doing any refinishing on cars that had lead solder on them. But anyway, let me hook this baby up and set her in just right. And then I'll put the Electrotex dielectric grease on there. And I'll come right back and test it.